Water is the most versatile element. This ancient force appears everywhere: oceans, rivers, rain, and within all biological life forms. When you give a character the ability to control water, you're making them a devastating force of nature. Water control, or hydrokinesis, means bending water to your will. Your characters could freeze enemies within blocks of ice, summon devastating waves, or pull moisture straight from the air. Some characters might heal their wounds, while others breathe underwater as if it was their natural habitat. In this video, I'll cover every step you need to know if you want to write a water-based power system for your next story. By the end, you'll know exactly what you need to do. First, let's figure out how you should design your characters. The users who wield these abilities are just as important as the technical details. Water, being the fluid element that it is, represents themes like adaptability, stillness, and, at its peak, destruction. These themes can be used to design your characters. In most fiction, characters who use fire are typically impulsive and aggressive. Water users are normally calm, adapting to obstacles with patience, and when the time comes, they are intensely emotional, with power as destructive as a tsunami. Fire users tend to have resistance to flames. Similarly, water users in your story could have a resistance to drowning with the ability to breathe underwater. Or they could simply have the power to control water, but not be immune to the effects of it. Meaning, if they were prevented from using their power, they could possibly die if submerged. When world building, determine where the users of your power live. They could live in coastal communities or maybe an underwater civilization. Coastal communities may worship water users as their protectors. Agricultural-based societies might exploit them as irrigation tools. Military-focused kingdoms could use people with hydrokinetic powers in their navy, making them nearly impossible to beat without the opposing side also having their own hydrokinetic users. Different societies in your world should logically put different levels of importance on people who hold this power. Let's go through each step of creating the power system. Step number 1. Determine what characters can do. Since we're writing a power system, think about combat first. What can water users do in a fight? Long-range attacks might be a highly pressurized stream that cuts through metal like butter. They could shoot ice shards like arrows, or create massive waves that crush enemy ships. If your characters are fighting close range, they might cover their fists to give their physical attacks more force. Or they could create armor made of ice for protection. Water whips can grab enemies or pull them closer, and also act as a makeshift shield by moving at extremely high speeds around a character. Large-scale attacks would change entire battles. Characters could create a thick, dense fog that allows them to hide their movements. They could flash freeze an entire area to trap multiple enemies at once. Water users could also possess the ability to purify dirty water to make it safe enough to drink. They could help farms by controlling rain and irrigation. They might preserve food by removing all moisture in the air. In deserts, they could pull water from the air to survive. When you're writing a story, these are the kind of small details that readers will notice. And they're the kind of details that make your power system believable. You could even go further with the details so that different types of water work differently. Salt water would be heavier, tougher, and possibly harder to control. Fresh water could work better for healing and precision tasks. Holy water could be reserved for advanced techniques. Ask yourself this: can users control liquids that aren't pure water or have minimal amounts? Also, can water users control blood? Manipulating the water in blood is a terrifying ability. This type of ability is displayed in series like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Determine if your power system has similar powers. If the answer is yes, does it require master-level skill or come with severe consequences? Maybe it causes intense pain to the user or corrupts their powers permanently. Societies could execute anyone caught controlling blood. Or, if the answer is no, you should explain why blood control isn't banned. Maybe the life force in living beings protects them, or because blood isn't a truly clean source of water and has other components mixed in, it wouldn't be able to be manipulated. Whatever you want to choose for your world. This one decision could make characters in your world far more dangerous. Step number 2. Decide where the power comes from. The origin of powers shapes your entire system. Magic sources of power could be blessings from sea gods or ancient spirits that could grant powers. Mystical springs might transform normal people into water users. Think of gods like Poseidon or Neptune from Greek and Roman mythology. Powers could be granted by fantasy creatures as well. Mermaids, dragons, or river spirits might make deals with humans. Maybe powers in your world only work near the ocean or by large bodies of water. The source matters because it decides who gets power and why. If it's genetic, what happens to kids born from a water user and a normal person? If the power comes from a special source, what happens when that water source gets polluted? Do powers get weaker or corrupted? Can someone lose their powers? And if so, how? Step number 3, create different types of water users. Every single power system, regardless of what it's based on, needs some type of classification. Classifications are the groups within your power system. Let's say one class of users focuses on healing, and another class could focus on using water in its liquid state, or control water as ice, etc. These are just ideas. Each class of users needs different types of training and thinking in your world. You could base the classes of users on the level of skill they possess, meaning everyone has the same access to power, but are grouped by how well they use their power and their experience level. Beginners could move small amounts of water, while experienced users could fight, walk on water, or create ice structures. Ask yourself, are there forbidden classes of users in your power system? How do water healers view fighters? Do healers have any way to defend themselves against other classes of users? Can someone learn multiple classes, or are they stuck with one type of water control? Step 4. Name your power system. The name needs to stick in readers' minds. Keep it easy to say and natural in conversations. A 12-syllable word kills the flow. If powers come from mythology, use names connected to sea gods, something inspired by Poseidon, Neptune, or less common ones like Aegir from Norse myths. For science origins, use words that sound official or experimental. Once you choose a name for your power system, say it a few times out loud to get a feel for it. Use it in different sentences. Think about how characters would shorten it in normal talk. Maybe the system doesn't have an official name, but water users themselves are known by something. Step number 5. Figure out the limits of your power system. Limits are rules that can't be broken no matter how skilled someone is. This creates logic that prevents characters from doing things they shouldn't be able to do. Decide what's needed for powers to work. Do users need to see the body of water they're controlling? Do they need hand movements or spoken words to use their powers? Set environmental limits as well. Extreme heat will evaporate water before it's able to be controlled. Extreme cold will freeze it solid. Figure out if characters can control ice and steam, or just liquid. Determine how much water can be controlled at one time. An entire lake, or just a small pool. What's the farthest distance a character can use their powers from? And what happens if a character attempts to go past their limits? When you set limitations, ensure that your characters won't be able to break them no matter what they do. Otherwise, the story won't make sense to readers. You can also add ways for your characters to work around your limitations creatively. The same limits might only apply to liquid, but maybe not ice. The limitations you make might be specific to certain classes of water users. Step number 6, determine the rules. Now that you have limits, you need rules. Rules are about activating powers, controlling them, and what happens when you break the rules. Decide how water powers are activated. Do users always feel nearby water sources and can manipulate them without thinking? Or do they need 100% focus to activate their powers? How is water controlled? Is it through martial arts or specific hand movements that direct it where the user wants? Some power systems use objects to access power, like swords, staffs, pendants, etc. Once you determine rules, figure out what happens when rules are broken. Consequences for water users could mean suffering from their own powers, maybe dehydration, freezing, or burns from steam. Societal rules could exist as well. If water powers were granted by an entity within your world, that entity might ban the manipulation of certain types of water, like holy water or sources that people drink and clean with. Breaking the entity's rules could be punishable by death. Ask yourself, does controlling large amounts of water split a user's focus dangerously? Or can using too much power make them mentally unstable, or thinking becomes scattered? What about corruption? If water represents life and purity, what happens when someone uses their power to do something immoral, like taking a life? Does the power itself become tainted, or does the user? This might be a great opportunity for a powerful character arc. A healer forced into combat might watch their abilities slowly become corrupted. Step number 7, how do powers scale in your world? From the lowest level to the highest level, how do the abilities of users become stronger? Beginners work small, while a master shows absolute control. Legendary water users would go far beyond even what a master is capable of. They might be able to control clouds miles away, freeze entire lakes instantly, or turn their bodies into water itself. Some might use forbidden techniques, like blood control, or poisoning the water within a living being. Getting to a legendary level needs either decades of training, a near-death experience, or a blessing from an overpowered entity. Otherwise, the legendary title has no weight to it. Ask yourself, what clearly separates an expert from a rookie? Is it the amount of water controlled, the precision, or variety of uses? How do non-fighting abilities grow? Does reaching legendary status require sacrifice? If so, what do characters give up to become legendary? Step number 8. Create advanced abilities. Advanced techniques separate masters from everyone else. Decide how users unlock these. A common method that authors use is by putting characters through life-threatening situations where they break through limits. And at that moment, they awaken a latent ability that was always there, but they never had access to. Cliché, but it works. Maybe in your world, advanced water abilities awaken at certain ages, or through bonding with water spirits, or by visiting sacred locations like underground springs or the deepest parts of the ocean. Advanced abilities could be personal and 100% unique to the user, similar to domain expansions from Jujutsu Kaisen or Bankais from Bleach. Ask yourself, how do advanced techniques change someone's status in your world? Do they become protectors, targets, or weapons? What stops everyone from awakening advanced water abilities? Is it lack of talent, the price of power being too high, or just not knowing these techniques exist? And do advanced techniques have any specific requirements? Step number 9, test the logic and give your main character an advantage. Now, test everything for logic. Imagine smart characters finding loopholes in your rules. Can users freeze moisture in someone's lungs to choke them? If yes, why isn't this used for assassinations? If not, what stops that from happening? Can they boil or freeze someone's blood from far away? If blood control is possible, why isn't every fight deadly? If characters can control any liquid with a certain percentage of water, what stops them from controlling poisons? If healing people with water exists in your world, can healers cure any disease or just injuries? What's the difference between curable and incurable in your world? Also, think about physics. Water is heavy. If someone controls 1,000 gallons, where does the force to lift and manipulate that water come from? Do you leave it unexplained in your world, or is there a noticeable effect on the user? What about pressure? Can users create jet streams strong enough to cut through metal? If they can, then does normal armor become useless? Or is there a material in your world that can withstand the pressure? You get the point. These questions show weak spots in your logic. It's better that you find them on your own before you write them into your story and readers find them. Fix the gaps early before you write yourself into a corner. Lastly, give your protagonist an advantage over other water users. In a world where everyone has access to the same power, how do you make your MC stand out? What can they do that others can't or won't? Is their advantage natural talent or earned through pain? And what's the hidden cost to their advantage that other characters don't experience? In conclusion, the ability to control water is an ancient concept that exists everywhere in mythology, from Poseidon and Neptune to modern fiction like Avatar, Aquaman, or Percy Jackson. Water can defend and attack. It can heal wounds or destroy buildings with massive waves. It naturally exists in 3 forms, giving you variety. It's simple enough for readers to understand, but complex enough to surprise them, making it one of the most flexible elements for any power system. If this video helped you, hit the like button and leave a comment below. And don't forget to join our Discord community. The link is in the description. It's a great place to share your work and connect with fellow creators. Thanks for watching!